Fruit wine, must preparation, and the use of the steam juicer, followed by questions and answers. Equipment we're going to use to do sort of things like this is you need a freezer, there's a centrifugal juicer, a press is handy for doing apple scrapes and stuff, and also the steam juicer. There's quite a few different things you can do through this. This is just my version of it, it's just what I do. One of the best ones is rhubarb. Pick it, cut it, stick it in a bag and freeze it. If I were you, try and take the top inch off the rhubarb seed, just leaving the rest of it, because the top inch is, the leaf is where the acid is, and it also concentrates in the top inch of the stalk. Literally freeze it for a couple of weeks. Literally all you need to do is take it out of the freezer, just put a hole in the corner of the bag, and leave it overnight. And as you can see, just comes out. I wouldn't squeeze it or anything else, just use the juice instead. It's so much better just on its own. Elderflowers. Best thing to do with them, if you're not going to use them straight away, if you want to keep them for a wee while, is to make an elderflower syrup with it. It keeps for years actually. Pick your flowers. Best thing to do is put them in a black poly bag overnight, because then the wilt off of it, just shake the bag about, and you get the flowers out without having any stems or anything else in it. Literally all you're doing then is, for each pint of water, a kilo of sugar and a good cup of elderflowers. Boil it for 20 minutes. No, you boil it to dissolve the sugar, then you put the elderflowers in it, and just leave it for 3 or 4 days, and then just strain it out. I put them into just liter bottles, and they'll sit there for, I've had it for over a year and it's still sitting there. That's what I've got. Lemon in it as well. Apples and pears, one of the easiest ways of doing them. In smaller quantities is a centrifugal juicer. If you've got large quantities, using some form of crusher. I've got a pulp master, which is literally just a blade in a bucket. You put a cordless drill on, it beats them all up. The other favourite one is to use a garden shredder, if you're doing quantities on, just to press them. Centrifugal juicer, it's really quite simple. Stick it in. I've only got some more. And it is as simple as that. It separates the pulp away from the juice. If you leave the juice to settle, it will separate out and just use the pure juice in the middle of it. In all honesty, I've actually stopped using apples, mainly because you get really mixed results as to where the apples will come from. It tends to be either too sour or too sweet, and to be honest, for 50 odd pence at the supermarket, it's consistent, so I do just use it from the supermarket. One hint I was given was, if you pick apples, is to leave them for a couple of days before you actually juice them or press them or anything else, because they do actually sweeten once they've been taken off the tree. Okay. The other thing is you can make your own press. There are loads and loads of plans on the web, what have you. I built one. It's basically 4 bits of timber with a cross, it's just bolted together. I've used a stainless steel draining board from a sink for the bottom plate. The only problem I had with it was I found that it was hard to keep it straight, so what I did was I actually bought a stainless steel laundry basket, and I actually managed just to hold it in place rather than it kind of tipping and everything else. It's just a ball jack. It's worked for me for a few years and no cost. A laundry basket was 10 quid or something. That's it. I mean, you can get the boots ones for small amounts, So there's plans all over the web for building one yourself. Quite a few homebrew shops rent them out. You can hire them for a tenner a day or whatever. I use a net curtain in mine just to keep it all together. Means you get stuff out, stops the pulp being squeezed through the sides of all of it. The other one I do is beetroot. Literally just cut it up, boil it, and it's actually the water that you're boiling in you use, not the actual beetroot itself. It always loses its colour apparently. So the real thing is the steam juicer. This is the Westphalia one, which I can't remember how much they are, 35 quid, 40 quid?
About 50 quid.
50 quid. I got given it. It's fairly simple. It's 3 pans. Bottom pan is just a water container. Water in it. Middle part is actually the juice collection vessel. As you can see, there's a cone in the centre, and then it goes into this perforated pan which has the berries in it. And I know I can get nine pounds of berries fills that completely, which kind of works well for me because then I'm getting, believe it or not, 2 litres and a litre, because I get 3 litres out of £9. As you can see, there's a hole in the bottom. The steam from the bottom, which is boiling, comes up through this into the berries, breaks the berries down, and they drop down into this. I have found 3 litres is fine, it comes out fine. If you leave it on, what happens is it'll actually overflow and start going to the bottom. It makes a mess. Wouldn't I've worked out, personally I think an hour and a half works for me. That gives me about 3 litres and it doesn't bottle dry. So basically you've got your pan full of berries, leaking all over everyone. That's it, just leave that for an hour and a half. The juice that comes out of it is hot. What I do is I've got a stainless steel pan, I sterilise it, take it out of the stainless steel pan, and actually put a sink of cold water, trying to rapidly cool it, trying to get it as sterile as possible. One of the best ways of storing it is to freeze it. The best way of freezing it is to buy a decent Tupperware box, square one. Now I'm saying buy a decent one because if you start using ice cream tubs and everything else, they get broken. You go through hundreds of them. I've bought a decent Tupperware box, put it in the Tupperware box, freeze it. After a couple of days, just literally turn it upside down, press the button, the block comes out. Take the block, put it in a plastic bag, label it, stick it in the freezer, and you can stack them up and take up so much less room.
You can store it in bottles though, can't you?
Yes.
If you haven't got freezer space. You need to do
I would have, until last year I would have said yes, quite definitely. But I had an incident last year where it was elderberry and blackberry, which started to ferment. So I was very lucky that I caught it by noticing the bottle expanding somewhat. I managed to get it outside and open the lid before it exploded all over the kitchen, in which case I would have been killed by my wife. So I always freeze mine now, just because that happened to me once, so I won't take a chance again.
I used a fizzy water bottle, and mine was fermenting, but it's no problem, even though it was under tremendous pressure, obviously because it's meant to take it, it was fine. I just basically put it in the sink and gradually blend the CO2 off it and just use it. And then I repasteurize it in the jug, use what I wanted, like 500 millilitres, just pasteurise it in the microwave, let it go cool, percolate it and then use it. So it's fine, that's what I found.
Well, you could sulphate it as well, didn't you?
I did actually sulphate mine. Even after I pasteurised it, one bottle did start from fermenting, but it's okay if you use it in a...
If you're going to use it in a reasonable short time, yes, no problem at all.
Yeah.
But even if it is slightly fermented, I wouldn't like to leave it for any length of time, even in a pot bottle.
Yeah.
This was a year later, like I say, I usually took last weekend, so I mean, it's been fine.
I mean, I used the, once it started to ferment, I used it.
Yeah.
I didn't chuck it or anything else.
No.
But, as I said, I wouldn't store it for a long length of time in a pot bottle, just personal thing.
Could you pass me that orange bottle? That's the flammable one.
Notice I asked someone else to get it.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Actually, can you pass me the tube as well? That's quite flammable too.
The tube, what tube?
The green thing.
This one?
Yeah, please.
I'll edit that bit out.
It's very solid.
So we're putting Ian's life at risk.
Ian's life, yeah, my life, yeah.
I wouldn't use, I mean, I've done strawberries, brambles, elderberries, I've done plums, done sloes. I wouldn't do hard fruits such as apples and pears, just like the cooked apple taste rather than fresh apple taste. Strawberries are really quite good because when you get the juice off of them, you can actually then put the what's left of the strawberries into ice cream and put it in a blender, and you basically get a McDonald's strawberry milkshake with a little less colour.
So how much, what percent water do you think you get in the actual juice then?
No idea. That's one thing. Once they're on, don't go picking the lid up and having a look. Because every time you pick the lid up, the condensation on the lid drops back into the thing, so it does look dilute it a lot. So I've just worked out an hour and a half works.
And that's done. So you don't drain it off while you're doing it or anything?
No, I just leave it for the hour and a half. When I get my 3 litres, goes in a stainless steel sauce into the sink.
Yeah, the instruction manual says to do that, but I always start running my juice off straight away because I'm paranoid.
To be worried about it, yeah.
Like, who's going to end up cooked? I mean, I know it doesn't, and the instruction manual says that that's what you should do, but I'm like, ooh.
I'm off, no problem.
So what's the actual pulp like when it's finished then? Can you use that for anything or is it?
Well, the only one I have used is the strawberry. Everything else just goes in the compost bin.
So you've done the strawberries in the steam as well?
Yeah.
Did you use that for making wine?
Well, the
Did
strawberry.
you use the juice for making wine?
Yes.
How did that turn out? Because my experience of strawberry wine is it's difficult to make it to make it taste of strawberries, frankly. Like a couple I've tried recipes, they've been unmitigated failures.
Joe did a strawberry one with honey 2 years ago, and that was actually gorgeous. It was.
Really good.
But I haven't made a pure strawberry one at all myself. I did.
Did you
Copied
get,
that.
did you get the
Copied
flavour
that
of
well,
strawberries through with it though?
Well, the one we had yesterday, that's C27.
I wasn't here
Oh,
yesterday.
of course, sorry. We had one last night, it's kind of like a rosy type wine, but it's made from strawberry, loganberry and bramble. And it's the favourite in our house. From both my parents and
You can't taste the strawberries. Yeah. Fantastic.
You pressed yours, Carl, didn't you?
I juicer.
Did you?
I got 12 kilos of strawberries free,
Whoa.
and I just put them all through a juicer. And similar thing like Ian was showing earlier, you get similar thing to the apple. You get a good half of foam and scum, and below that is pure strawberry juice. I had so many, I had about a gallon and a half, and I had just fermented pure strawberry juice.
If anything, it would over strawberry, wouldn't it?
If
It was
anything,
too
it
much.
was too
It was too much, yeah.
It was shocking as a dry. You couldn't drink it as a dry wine. Sweetened up, the strawberries just
Yeah.
came out of it, and it was pungent. Strong.
Really strong.
Really,
Really, too much.
Yeah, so I'd recommend probably just doing, a bit of obviously white grape juice and some apple juice in with that, dial it down a bit.
It's
I didn't know I was doing strawberry additions, but it was like put a fair whack of strawberries in it.
I don't even fair like a strawberries. Honestly, 120 grams maximum, that's all.
Really?
Right at the end when it's finished. Basically, I just pasteurise them, mash them up, excellate them, at the end of a white wine, and it's fantastic.
I have to give that a try. Might just mean I was using cheap strawberries and not enough for them.
Or jam.
Oh, jam, yeah.
Tin strawberries go as well.
Yeah, jam.
I was putting them on.
Let strawberry jam in like a great wine. Obviously a little bit extra pectorals.
Yes, fully expressed.
So you have to leave that for.
I mean, 90% of the juice that I use, I've made a wine number 1 and put it in
Yeah.
after the major fermentation's over.
How much strawberries would you put in then? To get that juice would you get out of it? And how much strawberries would you put in?
I put a litre per gallon.
Now, I mean,
So that's 3
how
pounds of
much do you
strawberries.
get out? You know, if you feel it, how much would you get out, do you think?
3 litres.
2 litres?
3 litres.
3 litres.
If I put 9 pounds, I get 3 pounds per litre is what it works out to. And most things it does. I mean, slows it didn't work out as high as that. Many stones alone, they're not that juicy. And to be honest, don't think I'll do it again anyhow. It's not as slow as
Stone
vodka.
fruit are notorious for having lots of pectin in that, so you have to pectorate it after everything.
Yes. Oh, I mean, yes. Major stuff.
Horrendous stuff, isn't it?
I mean, the other thing is any of the stone fruit, you want to get the stones out because they can impart, if they get cracked or broken at all, and impart an almond flavour.
So I might chuck getting stones out, wasn't it?
Ray Aylmer was on about, he said he does his damsels and everything, he doesn't have to take stones out, but I would have thought you'd have the bitter taste.
It's only if the stones get broken.
Right.
So, I mean, certainly you don't. I didn't take the stones at the slows.
No.
They're going to have a taste of the wine, so still sitting on the ledge.
Do you do everything for an hour and a half, Ian?
Apart from sex with wife.
That's 2 hours.
I knew straight away where that was going.
That's how you know it's when to take it off, it's halfway through.
I do. It's just I've just found it works. It's a system that works for me.
They don't cook it, no. I've always been wary of overdoing them.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it might give it like a bit of a cooked taste, but obviously.
I generally put mine in, and once it reaches boiling, I give them about 30 or 40 minutes and they're out, because I'm frightened of overdoing it. Because I did, you were talking about the instruction book before. Well, the first time I used it, I didn't know I'd got an instruction book, and it was in the perforated basket. So I tipped my elderberries in, steamed them. When I come to chuck the juice on the pulp on the compost heap, I thought, what's this? Purple instruction book that was unreadable. So I've never had an instruction book for mine.
What was steamed instruction book
taste
like?
Well, I don't know, the wine was alright.
A bit of body.
But it made it very difficult to read, so I've never had the instructions. Hour and a half.
Well, I mean, that's just beginning to come through now.
Yeah.
The other thing I've found is I don't like putting frozen fruit in it. I have a fear. I really think that, well, I think that putting frozen fruit in, the first thing you're doing is melting the fruit. And all the water that's around about the fruit melts and drops into the bottom. I'd much rather leave my fruit to thaw first, then put it in. It's just my choice.
We all do things slightly differently, don't we?
Don't have much else to say.
That's very good. Splendid.
Cheers.
Well done, that man.
So we're going to wait till 6ish now, or a bit longer.
Have you been back? Or?
No.
Cheers, Ian.
If the gas lasts that long.
Yeah.
Grand stuff. Well done.